Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future anthology from 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcast. Yes, it is that time of year again. There's a show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards, UFO Undercover, in the category of entertainment. UFO Undercover brings you some of the most revealing and current research that is being done with respect to alien abductions and contact. Host Joe Montaldo has been an abduction researcher for over 35 years and is uniquely qualified to bring you live interviews with some of the most well-known researchers in ufology. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate UFO Undercover in the category of entertainment. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and get out and vote now.
All right, everybody, it's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. The Outer Realm in the category of Best Female Hosted Podcast. The Outer Realm is a very popular show hosted by Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, which boasts millions of listeners each week who are well known for and have been complimented on their very laid-back, roundtable style of interviewing. Together, this dynamic duo brings you the best of the best with guests from around the world who are well-versed within their respective fields of ufology, paranormal, esoteric, and other areas of high strangeness, and more. So go to podcastawards.com to nominate The Outer Realm in the category Best Female Hosted Podcast. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNTalkRadio.com.
Spirit Switchboard, airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 New Orleans.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are joining me live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 out of New Orleans. Today, my guest is Deborah Hackett-Jones, and Deborah has been she has 20 years of experience as an integrative energy therapist with many modalities. She specializes in energy therapy and Reiki. Deborah is also an End of Life Doula and offers workshops such as Inner Child and Shadow Healing, Level 1 to Master Integrative Energy Reiki, and learning and working with your energy centers for healing. Thank you for joining me, Deborah.
Thanks.
So can I tell everybody how we got connected?
Sure.
You're okay with that? So I mean, I do my work as a medium, and I had a few sessions with clients who are mutual clients. I didn't know at the time. And during their sessions, I would start feeling my hands getting really hot. My hands are getting super hot. And I'm like, who are you working with that's got the hot hands? And they said, Reiki Deb. And I went, oh, I like me some Reiki Deb. Reiki Deb is awesome. Keep working with her because she's fabulous. And we hadn't even connected at that point. It was just tapping in and feeling the energy that you projected, in the work that you were doing. And it was definitely yum. Like it is powerful and palpable. So it's been a pleasure to connect with you in person.
Oh, thank you. And me as well.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah, it's an interesting journey when we get to this place, right? Where we are working with clients. Do you find, or did you feel that you were always intuitive? Because I know this isn't necessarily where you started your journey.
No. As a kid, I always saw things, and my grandparents, or especially my grandmother, would say, "You've got to stop. People are going to put you in a psych ward," because I could see lights and people, and
Did she
said
really
I
say that?
talking to the angels. Well, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but yeah, back in those days, that's not wasn't wasn't out and going when people were talking to dead people or saying you were talking to the angels. So it was like, so I had to shut it down, but I never felt like I fit in. So
Right.
holding that in was hard to try and be something you're not.
Yeah. So did you have to work through fear? Like if
Oh,
that was sort of programmed into you that you're going to get put in a psych ward if you're doing this stuff,
yeah, I always
was
had
there
that
not a
little.
lot of fear when you were okay?
And then worrying about what I would say when I went into the school, like when I got school aged and I wouldn't go near people, or I was afraid of my kindergarten teacher because I went to see The Wizard of Oz and she was the Wicked Witch of the West. So it was
Mm,
like seeing the difference in shades and colors of people in their auras,
mm.
but not understanding what any of it was because I didn't have teachers back then.
I can appreciate that. That was my upbringing as well too, having these experiences and not really having anywhere to go with it. And it does motivate you. I was very, because I know that when I had my children and they were having experiences, I was determined that it would be normal within our household.
Yeah, see, I never was able to accept it until I had my near-death experience.
Tell me
And
about
that's
that.
when, so I died giving birth to my first child. And I was in and out of a coma for 2 weeks. And
Wow.
I went on the other side and I saw what it was like to be out of body, where this beautiful energy, and we're only a tiny bit of us inside this. Now, this is from a client that had crossed over, or a patient, a friend of mine that had crossed over, called this the meat suit.
It is the
So
meat suit. That's what I say too.
So it's free. Or this big ball, this huge ball of energy that's full of still our personality and love and light. And on the other side, that's what it is all about. Love, unconditional love. There's
Mhm.
no limitations. I see when I came back, Earth is like our stage. This is where we come to learn and we have
Mhm.
tribe that comes back with us, like our soul people, and they're
Yeah.
the ones that help us through our journeys. We sign up doing, oh yeah, I'll do that. No worry, I'll be the male this time, and I'll be the female because we're
Yeah.
there and back. But when we get here, it's like, oh my Lord, what did we sign up for? Because we forget.
Did you have a hard time readjusting? Is that the right word to use? Like when you
Yeah.
came back from, because I've only tapped in on that other side through a session a number of times, and that unconditional feeling, like if it's home, it's so hard to explain to you. It's home. And then when you're here, I was in a funk and didn't have a near death experience. I just had the experience of through the spirit's eyes, feeling what his healing journey was on the other side. And I was in a funk for a wee bit after. Like,
Yeah, and when I came back, I was a mother for the first time. So I jumped right into motherhood, right? Wanting to see my child and be a
oh,
part of it. And
wow,
then when
that's a
I
lot.
mentioned stuff to the nurses or doctors, they were like, "You can't. We don't. No, we don't talk about stuff like that." But it's funny when I did say something that the doctor at the time that came back to, I clotted. My whole system clotted because they didn't know I had a blood disorder called hemochromatosis at the time, and that's what happened. I shut down. Everything clotted. That he got to his car and he couldn't get in his car to go home. So I think that was my team in spirit. And so he came back up and had heard a voice. This was after and he said that to come up and press on my stomach. And when he did that, it released this huge clot that had happened. And my husband at the time already was told that he was going home a single dad and all this stuff.
Wow.
But I was able to tell him I saw all this stuff and knew what had happened. But they're like, how? You weren't here. And I'm like, but you don't lose your hearing,
Yeah,
right? You
this is
hear,
true.
it's the first thing that comes in and the last thing to go, right? So I was aware of the whole thing. I just wasn't in this body. I was
Yeah.
flying about.
Yeah. Yeah. At home. That's a story. I am sitting here listening to you and I'm like, oh, tell me the story again. Like, tell me the story again. Is that awful? But that's like, it's beautiful. It's scary and sad and light and expansive. It's all of those feels at one time.
Yeah, and when you're on the other side, there's no words to explain because it's the
Mhm.
feelings, the lights, the senses. Like there's
Yeah.
just the only way to say it is there's no limits. And when we
Yeah.
come here, we're confined to this body, and we
Yeah.
don't have the same
Yeah.
freedom, I guess, as we do on the other side.
And that's how I saw it. There were colors that I don't have words to explain. And the depth of love makes me cry.
Hmm.
Like, because it truly is unconditional. Like, if
Yeah.
there's not, yeah, it's, yeah. I just want to slide over. Um, so Laura Lee, who's also a host here on UPRN, she has a show called The Angel Rock. So I just want to read you. Maybe we can slide it over. Oh, I'm losing it. There we go. She's like, near-death experiences right up my alley, having studied near-death experiences for over 40 years professionally as an RN and personally, having had a near-death experience as a toddler. And she's also a nurse, so she is saying it's true regarding our hearing, our last sense to go, and why as nurses we encourage loved ones to keep talking to their loved ones when they might appear unresponsive. I find with nonverbal period, like people who are nonverbal, so even Alzheimer's or autism, it's connecting on a different vibrational level and they hear us.
Exactly. And being part of, I don't want to cross any lines with clients that I have or have dealt with, so I can speak freely about my dad. My dad was, when he was ready to transition over, I was with him the whole time and saw the whole thing. And he ended up going into a coma. They had to intubate, but I was able to still, it's almost like I was hearing but not
Mm.
hearing. So it's like, it wasn't verbal, it was, what do you call it? It was inside my head. I could
Telepathic.
hear it.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't get the word there. And he could hear everything that everybody was saying,
Hmm.
right? And it was him, my dad, with him crossing over, was the one that got me into going into being an end of life doula.
Oh, what exactly does an end of life doula do? Like, I love the term, like just hearing it gives me warm fuzzies, but I don't necessarily understand what the responsibilities are or the role that you take for it, the whole family, or is it, yeah.
Yeah, it's for the whole family. It's everybody wants to die. When I was young, I was afraid to die. Like I wasn't afraid because I didn't understand because I'd seen people on the other side, but I had no one to talk to. But my fear was being in the ground. Like I didn't want
Oh,
to, right?
yeah.
It was the bugs.
Yeah. My grandma used to say that too. She did not want to
Well,
be earthworm
and
food.
people that are getting ready to transition or have fear is knowing that being a doula helps them know to speak about the fears, learn about what it's like, dying in dignity,
Mm,
talking about writing letters, helping them get what they need to do to have their final wishes, right?
right.
And some of the times when it's somebody that has Alzheimer's, for to say, I ask the clients, the people, their families, like play their music, read their
Mm,
books,
yeah.
talk about memories that they loved, talk about the now, because everybody that's even if they're in a coma and whatever they hear, right?
They do, because they come through in sessions saying, thank you for talking directly to me and not around me, or tell them I saw them standing on this side of the bed holding my hand, or I'm grateful that they, painted my toenails, or, they talk about those things when they come through
Oh,
afterwards.
Yeah, and making a room, no matter if they're in hospice or hospital or dying at home, it's where they decide to be and want to make them feel comfortable and the family comfortable. And
Yeah.
it's time to mend the forgiveness and allowing them to have their final moments. Like, don't make it's a celebration and not to be fearful. And I think that's the stigma that we've put on is that, oh my God, you have to let them, don't touch, don't do, don't. Well, no, they want to have their last. My dad was like, tell mom this and make sure you look after this. And your brother thinks you're a woohoo and watch what I do when I go and da da da. Like, it
Tell me
was
that word
really,
again. What does your brother think?
my brother called me a woohoo. So did my ex-husband.
A woohoo. That's okay. My dad says, "Are you still doing that witchy thing that you do?" I'm like, yeah, there's some people that kind of follow me around. So funny. But again, whatever term they can find that makes it comfortable for them.
Exactly, exactly, right?
Yeah.
And I don't mind now being okay, call me a woohoo. Like I have clients that are, I had a client come in to say, oh, I'm here because my wife gave me it for my anniversary and I don't believe in all this Reiki, da 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 da. So we had a great conversation, and then because I connect when I step into somebody's aura, his dad came in and told him something, and he's like looked at me, he goes, "How do you know this?" And
Yeah.
I'm like, "Because your dad just told me." He goes, "But you don't know me. How do you know that?" I go,
Yeah.
"Because your dad just told me."
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And they walk out being a believer, right?
yeah. Yeah, they do. They do. And you can feel them, those people. I don't think they're aware of what their body physically feels like. It almost is like there's a disconnect between the emotions and feeling being in their body to feel the feelings, because you
Mhm.
can feel them relax as they start to be more open-minded. Everything about like their shoulders drop and you can feel that openness to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Do you experience it the same way?
Yeah, especially when I do the hands-on and with the integrative energy, it's more hands-on. Even when at end of life, when sometimes you just holding the client's hand and being in the presence of all their stuff, it's all about frequency and vibration as well. It's the energy and being able to
Yeah.
tell the people in the room or the person that's on the table on how we can move the energy to help, right?
Right. So Laura Lee has a question. I'm not sure. Can we showcase that, Laura Lee? Okay. So Laura Lee's question is, um, did you find that you had gifts that either weren't there before your near-death experience, or were they stronger after your near-death experience? Were
They're
they
much
heightened?
strong. Yes. And the fact that I always could see shades, but never color. And when um, so having the near-death experience, I went into motherhood and I kept getting signs from the universe. And I wasn't listening because it's like, yeah, no, I was told I wasn't allowed
Yeah.
or can't do this and da 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 da. And that's when I ended up holding all of that turmoil inside and ended up with cancer.
Mm.
Because I had taken the energies that were out here and I brought them in because of all the turmoil that was going on. And that's when I started my spiritual journey and got mentors and took psychotherapy. And all of a sudden, it was like having brain fog. And then it just, everything, all of a sudden, the flood of memories of what it was like being on the other side. And what I was told my purpose was and my what my soul desired and all of the stuff came flooding back and then coming back and sitting with it and putting it all together. And it
Right.
took me a while, right? Like you start as a kid and then all of a sudden I'm at this age and it's like, wow, I wish I could have been 20 years younger and helped more people. But it's how you process, and
That's right.
now more people are more spiritually awakened and
Yeah.
accepting of this.
Yeah.
and don't turn you off or tune you out. It's now like, I want to know more. I want to learn more.
And it's trusting that it's divine timing.
Oh, yes. It's
Trusting that it's
all
all
about the
divine timing. And it's actually something, I know that you and I chatted a wee bit earlier about today. And then as we hung up and I was like running around the house and feeding the dogs and all the things that I needed to do quickly, I jotted something down because I wrote down the words guilty pleasure and I stuck it in quotes. So, and originally I was on this track of like guilty pleasure foods, right? Like emotional eating and guilty pleasure foods and talking to you about that. And then it switched like another aha moment in the words that we use and the intention behind it. And then underneath I wrote guilt will make you sick. And then, so just as you're saying, those emotions attached to lessons that you compartmentalized in an organ festered.
Yes. So guilt, I always find manifests a lot in the lung, heart, and liver area. So
Mm,
the more I started working on clients, because I came back with being able to see the chakras and how they spin, and also the color, but also the meridian lines, which I didn't understand at the time. I was like, what is wrong with these people? Like, where'd their body go? I was seeing
So
all
explain
these.
what meridian lines are.
So meridian lines, for example, we have our heart meridian line. So it's like acupuncture, where the acupuncture points are. So this would be the lung meridian, and it runs down along your arm and goes off your thumb. So we have meridians throughout our whole body, connected
Right.
to every organ, every system from the head all the way to your toes. So people that work in massage, acupuncture, reflexology, all that stuff, that they're working on all that part of your body, right? It's ancient history from the Chinese to Buddha, all that stuff. They worked with all that. So it's bringing all that knowledge from, to me, from past lives or learnings to what I view now.
So how does our past life affect our current lives and our health?
Well, it's the emotional baggage that we can bring through if we haven't healed or done forgiveness in a past life. Um, for example, I'm going to use myself. All of my injuries or cancer have been on my right side. That's the male side. I came in as a tomboy and would like refuse to want to be like put in a dress or be a girl or do like I was the
Right.
sports person. I did all the chores on the farm, like out doing the hay. Like I was never like, oh, and makeup, never. Like it was just not a ball cap and whatever, and away I
Yeah.
went. So it was so to if I sit in, or my higher self says that's because my prior was a male, and then I wanted to experience what it was like to be female and have babies, I guess. And that was difficult for me as
Yeah. That set a whole other path and trajectory for you.
yeah, yeah. So I think past life, if we don't heal, it will carry forward. Also, our ancestors,
That
I
was where I was
believe
going to go next.
we carry forward. My line from my mother's side had a lot of I think they were very gifted. But back then, they again
Yeah.
suppressed. My great grandmother was put in a psych ward, and because
Wow.
I believe she was very gifted. I unfortunately never got to meet her, and ended up committing suicide
Oh,
because of it.
wow. So the healing that we do ripples generationally past and future.
I believe so. That's my belief.
Do you believe that?
I believe yes.
Yeah. I believe the same thing. Like, and I feel that, they can work on the other side as well too, right? So what they're doing on the other side is also rippling to us.
I just got the truth bomb. So my dad has stepped in, and my dad is like, yes, because my dad never got to meet his family. My dad was in foster homes, and he was native, part Native, and his mother, through you, I learned that his mother and grandmother are Native. I'm still trying to find out what my tribe or what Native background I am.
Oh,
So I'm researching that because it's important for me. I know that I have that. I always dreamed. I have dreams of of all of that and putting that part. And sorry, when I connect, I start.
no, I do the same thing. I do too. It helps me ground at the same time, but it also builds. So it's kind
Yes,
of like, yeah. So do you feel that when you have more conscious awareness of those puzzle pieces, it will expand even more what
yes.
your
Because
abilities and gifts are?
now that I found about my Aboriginal Native background, I wondered why when I clear a client, after I've done energy work, I always use Palo Santo and a feather.
Mhm.
Why I'm so attracted to the drum and vibrational frequencies. So I do vibrational healing with tuning forks, sound bowls, and the drum.
So do
It's
you
just something that comes natural, but I didn't know why.
right. Sorry to interrupt you. That's
That's okay.
my squirrel on Red Bull. Oh, do
He's
you
got that too.
right? So do you feel that there could be a possibility that your ancestors are already working through you? You just have to remember, consciously
And I have
remember?
to and be attuned and aligned. Listen, right?
Yeah.
Calming the monkey brain down and
Yeah.
going into the heart and actually connecting and listening.
We do have somebody asking if you have been able to connect with your great grandmother
My great
intuitively.
grandmother, yes, actually, my daughter, when she was younger, we had her old dresser with the mirror, and we would see her. My daughter would see
Mm.
her in the mirror and ask me, "Who's the lady?" So I went through my mother's stuff and found a picture, and I
Yeah.
brought it home, and my daughter went, "That's her, mommy. That's her."
Yeah.
So yeah,
We had the same experience as like with my one of my boys seeing their great grandfather who had passed way before my children were born, and we did the same thing with the pictures because kids, they stay connected, right? And I think that they're staying more connected now and needed us to remember so that we can hold space for them to always be able to be authentically themselves and not have to shut down in the same way that we did.
I totally agree. Um, I think between the ages of birth and 7,
Yeah.
we're totally still connected. It's society that norms and that kind of shut us down. Like
Yeah.
my grandmother's saying, you can't see that. And I'm like, yeah, I can. How come you can't? Oh, no, no. But I think she was
Yeah.
trying to protect me because of her mother.
Right. So her fears,
Right.
her fears.
Hmm. Hmm.
Have you had people come through still smoking?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay. Me too.
And the smell of alcohol,
Yeah.
especially if it's a line of alcoholism.
Yeah.
Mental illness, brain fog, um, other diseases, and sometimes it's only when I know I'm comfortable with the client that I will talk about how somebody passed.
Oh. Do you, how did you move into, or what? Um, I think that we sometimes don't have a choice where if this is what we're meant to do, we're just pushed until we agree.
Hey,
But
yeah, I've been if I ignore and I'm logical, so I ask for proof.
yeah.
But when I get on a task, because
Yeah.
I've been, just for example, this year, I wasn't listening and I knew it, and I got so involved in trying to find the balance between starting up this business, my business, working full time as in the school board system,
Right.
and I was also had grandchildren, family I wanted to do, and I didn't listen. Well, didn't the universe knock me off my feet, and I ended up flat on my head and got a concussion.
Hmm.
So I was off work. And then when I was back in my studio, I'm like, oh, I wasn't listening. And they had to,
Yeah. Poke you in the back of the head.
yeah, because I
I
wasn't
all
doing the small ones. I had to have the big one.
Yeah, but they probably were doing this moments. I always say it's like a
They
little,
were.
are we there yet? Are you paying attention to me? How about now? How about now? Just like a little kid until you get the big one. So,
Mhm.
so spirit guided you that it was time to step up and do this professionally.
Yeah, I had a 5-year plan that became a 3-year plan. And then in the end of the school year in June, 2 weeks before the end of the year, I walked in and went, I'm retiring. And everybody went, what? And I went, okay, I'm retiring. So that's what I
So,
did.
do you find that the energetic stuff that you were doing outside of the school um, scenario with that the people within the school, students, or would gravitate to you, people who
Yes.
had gifts or people who were needing healing, that those
Yeah.
students would gravitate to you?
Yeah. I teach children with exceptionalities. And it was
Mm,
because I could see or feel or have that connection where they
yeah,
didn't have to say anything. I just knew it. And they trusted me with that. They
yeah.
knew that if they did, well, I had one client that was, or one student that was going to get expelled. And I'm like, no, give him to me. I ran Breakfast Club. He did all his volunteer hours. And on his sorry, I'm going to tear, on his
That's okay.
graduation, he said if it wasn't for Missy, I was Miss Colbeck at the time, said, I wouldn't be here. And I'm going through to university to be a teacher because I need to help change lives just like she does.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So
That's
it's,
beautiful. So must be very hard to let go. But again, trusting that the universe has another plan in place for those children and those students in that environment. There's another plan.
there is, and a lot of the principals that I've worked with have said now that we're not under the umbrella, I can now go in and work with students that have anxiety. I've worked with a number of students with suicidal issues, just being able to communicate on a different level.
Yeah,
And we went through 2 years of COVID, and the communication that everybody got, like that loss of connection. It's all
right.
about our community, the loss. The students say it's like they don't feel like they belong. It's the
Yeah.
community connection of feeling like they belong, right? Because we're all one. It's all about oneness.
The collective consciousness of one, and how are you contributing to it,
Hmm.
right?
Sorry, I'm
And
just
what?
looking for my water.
No, it's all good. And we were very fortunate. One of my kiddos is in the spectrum, and the TA that kiddo had at one point in time did energy work, and it helped tremendously. And it was such a good thing for us as a family, and for him, right? And something that we've moved forward with. I'm really sorry. It
Especially
just
if they're
says
gonna,
Facebook. Sorry.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say, as walking into my classroom, the kids, the first thing when I told them I was retiring, were upset, but understood. But they go, but when you walk into a room, we all go in peace. So
Mm,
it's always bringing that energy of love and light wherever you go, right?
yeah,
And I'll remember when I first started in there, I was like, oh, I was fear or whatever. You never know what kind of kid or until you got to know them. Now
yeah.
wherever I go is just bringing in that love and light, and the, the anxiety and stress just dissipates in the room, and we always had a good day.
And there's because love and light can sometimes makes me. I always call it stink eye tight butt moment. That can be a little cringy when you hear love and light, but it's love and light in a grounded way, not
Yeah,
love and light in an airy, fairy, chaotic energy. It's that love
yeah,
and light that's grounded and centered and connected all at the same time. And
correct.
it just feels very different. I'm really sorry to whoever this is commenting, because you need to go into, I think you need to go into StreamYard to allow the connection with Facebook in order for your name to come up. So it's just saying Facebook reader. So I'm going to read the comment from somebody that's listening in with us. They're saying, I had a teacher in grade school who definitely helped me be more open about experiences in the paranormal. And it's so wonderful that you're there for them. And isn't it wonderful that the world is opening up and accepting your gifts and abilities?
Always makes me happy. Just, oh, go to the heart.
Yeah. And that what you're going to do now is going to be on an even bigger scale, because the people that you're connecting with will also be teaching and role modeling from their own perspective, whether they're aware of it or not.
Correct.
It's
I had a
amazing.
student, they said that he goes, I can't go to work. My anger's too bad. And I said to him, no, we're going to work with it. We'll learn about it. We'll do the deep breathing. I'll teach you. I don't do deep breathing. He's now got himself at a record store that he loves. The people that he hired him are like, oh my God, this kid knows everything about music. I said, yes, I know. They gave him a chance. And now
Yeah.
he's, it's just finding the right thing that clicks
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I
and being
agree.
being open to listen. We need to be more aware that not everybody fits in the box. I hate this, like a square like we need to be more open and stop limiting people for their uniqueness.
Agreed. Amen. I had a question that I thought of when you were talking about the chakras and meridians. So I want to circle back to that if that's okay with you. Um, when my children were younger, I used to get them together with other kids, like in summer camps, and they had a spiritual twist to them. So most of the kids that were there all had intuitive abilities and connected to the other side as well. And when we would do chakra work, some of those kids would say, "But that color is not what I see there," or "This symbol is not what I see there." So have you come across that? Do you have experience
Yes,
that way?
exactly. Everybody has their own unique way of seeing things. It's not written in stone. Like
Yeah.
everybody says, the heart chakra has to be green, or this chakra has to be. No, it's how you filter through what your thing is. It doesn't matter what color it is.
Right.
Is it working properly? So don't get stuck on your own. What you see is what you see,
Yeah.
right? People say it's all violet up here. Well, I don't sometimes see violet. I see greens and blues, right?
Yeah.
Depending on, like right now, Kerrilynn, because we're talking and we're teaching, it's yellow because it's all that the intellect and all that the
Right.
stuff we know is up and coming out, right? And so it changes. Our auras that we're born with stay the same, but when we're talking or teaching or playing or communicating and how our feelings, they come out in different colors.
Right. So can you share about how our auras can be like chameleons depending on the experiences that we're in?
Exactly. It is exactly because we're all taught through society to blend in, right? So your feelings affect
Yeah.
and your behavior affects the outer part of your aura, right? When
Right.
I'm excited and whatever, I'm like shoot fire. I'm squirrel, so it's the same thing. Like I get so excited or whatever,
Yeah.
it's like I shoot fireworks, right?
Yeah.
Of everything.
Yeah.
But when I'm being judged or criticized, or I feel like I'm being judged or criticized, everything shrinks in, and then I try and fit, and it doesn't always work.
Yeah. And then your bowels go crazy
Yeah,
when you're stifling.
yeah, yeah.
I
So
found a
that's
really
where we
neat.
hold everything, right? Is in our and our sacral. So all it's sorry, like the energies again are making
Oh,
everything go wonky. That's where we hold all our
yeah.
emotions, right? So if we get butterflies or the stomach pains or all of that stuff or indigestion or that, right? That's how energy affects us.
Yeah. I found a really cool way showing kids how far they can actually toss their energy and pull it in was using dowsing rods. And we just made like homemade ones with coat hangers.
That's what I was taught when I was a kid. We
Yeah.
used coat hangers, right? My
Yeah.
grandfather used to always send me out on can you go see where we need to put the new well?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. A willow, were they called willow witchers? Willow witchers? If you use a willow, like a willow tree
Yep.
branch, a
Yep.
willow witcher.
I used willow and I used the coat hangers.
Yeah, coat hangers is brilliant. And so, does that come back to intention? How much does our intention matter?
It
There's
does. It's intense. So it's just like I say about kids and spelling. It's not, I know when you have to, you're so apt to be on the computer. Even when my clients, when we do burning of to release energy, it's not so much the spelling, it's the intention, right? It's what you want to release. It's the clarity, the focus, the intention, and what you need to do. So
Right.
when I'm setting intentions, that I want to be clear, concise, and I want to be selfish. Not selfish in, oh, I want that. No, I'm selfish in what I want out of my life, right? So
Right.
that's why my 5-year plan became my 3-year became now, because I set my intentions, I set the clarity, and I was selfish. I kept writing down, this is what I want. I want the balance, I want the harmony, and I want to be of service to others.
Yeah. And being of service means sharing authentically from your heart space, right? The gift of who you are. But do you find, not but, that negates everything. Do you find that in sharing the gift of who you are, you're discovering more gifts about yourself?
Yeah, yeah. Because I used to always think, and this was from a mentor too, that I would always hear, but now I hear spirit from the outside, but when I'm hearing my higher self, it's inside.
Mm.
So it was learning the difference, because when I thought I heard it inside, and if it's well, that's the ego, right? La, 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 la. When it's
Chihuahua?
your higher self, it's kind, caring, gentle. Sometimes it's just a yes or a no, not long drawn out sentence of why you do this, la 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 la
Hmm.
la, right?
Hmm. Yeah. It's and being gentle with ourselves in the process because we're
Oh,
students too. Like,
we're our own worst enemies, right? We're the hardest on ourselves.
yes. I was thinking about intention when and health and food and all of that stuff. And well, I know that it's not necessarily healthy, but when I'm not eating things that are necessarily all that good for me, I'm like, let me take in what I is healthy out of this little thing that I'm eating currently, and I'm donating the rest to the universe and letting it transmute back into love. And thank you very much, in the hopes that I don't gain 5 pounds from the shiny stuff I'm currently eating.
But it's okay to indulge in
Yeah.
in small, like don't sacrifice.
Moderation.
Yeah, it's all about moderation. Exactly.
But then it goes back to the emotional part too, right? If you're feeling guilty, then there's guilt attached to the food. And my son, he used to say that he wanted to own a sandwich shop as when he got older. I mean, he's a barber now, but he wanted to have a sandwich shop and he wanted to call it Between Your Buns. And he said that his sandwiches are always the best because he makes them with so much love.
Mm,
And so people would feel that and be drawn to it. So, I mean, he's funny and quirky and all of that
I
yummy
love it.
stuff too. But, he understood that the energy that you put into it is going to be felt as well too.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. It's what I say because I work a lot with cancer survivors or cancer patients that are going through. And I think I had a new guide come in because when I decided to quit or retire, all of a sudden I got a flood of cancer patients and with tumors, brain tumors,
Mm,
right? And each one, everybody's unique in their own. And the more I got into and into the aura and being the medical intuitive, it's the emotional baggage we carry that
yeah.
creates all, and the environment. I'm not like our environment
Yeah.
sucks too, but we create a lot of the disease in our bodies because we
Yeah.
don't allow it. Instead of scanning our bodies and feeling where it is and acknowledging that guilt or acknowledging that pain, the sorrow, the hurt, whatever you're going through, divorce, loss, grief, it stays and it sits in your aura. And if you don't release it, it gets absorbed on a cellular level. So this
Yeah.
is where quantum physics are coming in. The cellular level, it goes in your organs. So I'm learning what other type, like anger and frustration and all that, like all in the liver, right? And then we get the fatty liver because we don't release any of that.
Right.
The same things with the kidney or back pain or shoulder or anything. I got cancer on the right side because of all that. I never felt comfortable in my body, and I like to hang out with the guys, but then I was always missing all the cues as a girl. Like, what do you mean he likes you? Or what do you mean he likes me? Like, I don't get it. Well, can't I just
Yeah.
hang out with them, you know?
Yeah.
So that developed.
Having a brain fog moment. I just had 5 different questions. I guess I'm not as grounded and centered as I thought I was. Do you
And that's
find
part of it, staying
yes,
grounded. It's like I
staying
have to
grounded. Yeah.
earthing, getting out in the grass, bare feet, and getting outside. Also, with my clients, and I use a spoon, and I started to heal and go up the foot. Each student in my classroom had one on their desk. So as soon as they started to have anxiety or panic attack or thought they were going to lose their marbles, would they didn't took their shoe off, didn't have to take their sock, and use the spoon on their feet, and it instantly grounded them. Now there's an intention there as well, right? Belief.
Yeah. 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 That's fascinating. And so good that they understood and could feel the difference, that they were in their body enough to feel the
Mhm.
difference when they were doing that. So that's how you like those are different ways that you ensure that you don't take on what you're helping your clients to release.
Me, I learned the hard way. I would come home or from my studio into my house, and that in the night I would have either all of a sudden I'd have the back pain, or I'd have the headache, or I had bad dreams of what was, and realized, I'm like, oh, this isn't even my stuff. I'm taking it on because I wanted to help heal, 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 yet I wasn't protecting myself. So now I know I stay grounded. I go in, I protect myself. I call in my angels and ask for the protective cloak of energy around me. I
Right.
surround myself in white or yellow, golden light. I wear crystals. Now, it's for me, it's my intention is there. So I have them
Right.
on. I know to focus. When I walk through a door of any place, I ask to be protected from other people's energies as well.
Right. Because people will suck off it and drain and not even realize that they're doing it.
Exactly. And that's what I tell some of my clients. They're like, at the end of the day, Deb, how come I'm so drained? I said, well, first of all, your heart and your sacral or your solar plexus are chakras spinning out.
So for
So
people
if
that don't know those places, where would those
so
places
heart
be on your
chakra is your
body?
heart. So
Yep.
in this next sacral's here in the stomach, the gut, the solar plexus, and sacral's just below the belly button.
Gotcha.
Okay. So when it's spinning outwards, we're giving away our energy for free. We just walk around, and then those people that don't know they're energy suckers or those that do go, ooh, you get free energy,
Yeah.
and they take it.
Yeah.
But if we're spinning the right way, which is clockwise and inwards, you're protecting yourself. So when you come for intuitive Reiki, that's the first thing I work on is making sure all your chakras are spinning the right way. So I open them up to clear, and then I get them spinning the right way to accept all the great energy. And at the end, I show everybody how everything's going in now, and they feel it. They're like, Deb, it's like getting a massage from the inside out. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Do
And they
you
get off the
find sorry, keep
and
going.
yeah, they get off the bed going, wow. I go, I feel heavy. I go, that's because you're grounded and you're aligned. You're not out of whack.
Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, I'll show you. So if I'm jumping off topic, I'm sorry.
No, no, no. It's okay. Just make sure that you're describing things because some of our listeners are listeners and they won't be
I
watching
know.
the video as well too.
Oh, right. So those that can see, so people that can see the video at all?
Yep, yep. People
Okay.
are watching the video for sure.
So how what I do, like I have a client tonight at 7 o'clock because I'm in the clinic right now and not in my studio. Um, I call it sitting in the power. So I call in the clients, the person's team and spirit, their higher self, and I connect on a soul level. And then I draw, believe it or not, I draw energy, and then I write notes. that I'm getting from the other side that I need to tell them. So
Right.
I'm just gonna cover the name.
Yep.
This is all energy. So that person that you see, that's what they look like before they come. And the squiggly lines to me are just the energy that's all out of whack, blockages, why it's not moving through the body,
Right.
um, all the turbulence that's up here, and if they're getting downloads for vibrational changes, and where it's all blocked in the body. And once I
Wow.
get through that, then I can go into the medical intuitive and see where things are wrong in the body. I
Right.
shouldn't say wrong, just out of whack.
Out of alignment.
Yeah.
So does that also show you if it's generational, if it's past life, if it's current experience? Do you get a sense of that in that moment or more when you're with the client?
More when, so it's like, um, because you have to remember your, not only is your aura 7 layers, so are your chakras. So the more you work and the more energy you do, the deeper and deeper I can go.
Right. Do you find clients, there's a collective of or waves of collective healing on the same level? Like, because I find that with clients as well too.
Yeah.
So it's a week of bowel cancer, a week of,
Brain tumors or a week
brain
of
tumors was a
lung
lot
cancer.
this week.
Yeah. Yeah, I've got quite a few clients, and the cancers are getting worse. I shouldn't say worse. They're just I'm how do you say it? They're not diagnosing quick enough.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Agreed. 100%. Having the same experiences with clients as well too, like not knowing, delay with finding out, and then passing within weeks of finding out.
So
For
that's
me,
kind of what
my clients.
happened with myself. When I got before I knew I had stage 4 breast cancer, we had got a hot tub and I started to leak. So I went to the doctor and he goes, "Oh, you've got an infection from the hot tub, blah, blah, blah." I took these great big horse pills for months. And finally, it was my dog, believe it or not, that wouldn't leave me alone. Kept
Interesting.
pushing me and pushing me. And I'm like, okay, something's not right. I don't feel right. I'm not feeling good. I'm off. I'm grumpier than normal. Something is wrong. So when I went for a mammogram, I never left the hospital. I went right to oncology, and they go, "Well, you've got, it's pretty much going on stage 4. Like you have 6 months, maybe a year, and we'll figure out what's going to happen." I'm like, "Screw you. I'm not listening to this voodoo." I walked out.
Okay. Not that
I'm
we're
gonna,
encouraging people to walk out.
no,
You need to,
no, 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 no.
we are not encouraging people
No.
to.
And because it was like, what do you mean? Like, I have an infection. What are you talking about? Right? It was
Yeah.
I needed time to process, right?
Right.
And that's when I really started my spiritual journey of going through and remembering my purpose and why I was here. And
Yeah.
this was part of it, having this so I could help others go through what happens and their family. Like
And
it's so
feeling
hard on my
empowered.
family.
Feeling empowered on their journey.
Hmm.
So Laura Lee is asking, Deborah, can you do this work with clients who are not physically in front of you? Skype, Zoom, remotely?
You know what? Yes and no. I'm more a hands-on person, and
Mhm.
because when I get into the aura, I feel more attuned to that person, so everything comes through. So I can't say yes and no. I'm just more comfortable doing it hands-on with the client.
Right.
That's just me, my unique self. I can, I just, I don't know how to explain it. I just don't feel like I have the direct connection, but that's probably my growth,
Well, I was
right?
just about to say, do you think that that's an area where they're going to
Push me.
develop
They
and push
tried
you?
to do it through COVID, and I did a lot of workshops in COVID and was connecting. But soon as I got the clients back into my studio or back in the clinic and my hands went on, it just like it was,
Uh,
I knew it was there, right?
you have hot hands.
Mm.
'Cause-
Well, at the clinic, I'm known as the lady that makes everybody cry.
Oh, well, there's that too. But that's an emotional release that's good.
It
So
is.
purge it out.
They
That
do.
crying
Yeah.
is better than diarrhea.
Well, it's tears from heaven, right? It's a release.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's a purge. There's a release that happens when we
Well, it's just like my client
energetic
yesterday
yuck.
called me this morning, texted me this morning. Okay, I felt fantastic, and then what happened? I had to go. You know what? And I go,
Yeah.
because I went into your liver, I went into your spleen, I went
Yep.
into your kidneys. Because do you want me to tell you what you had that we had to clear out of it? She goes,
Yeah.
you knew I ate the pizza and the chips and the yeah, 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 yeah. That's why it came out. It's weird.
Yeah. Yeah. People get surprised when with that aspect of like the burps and even yawning. Even the
Yawning's
yawning.
a big one. Everyone goes,
Yeah.
oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know I was so tired. I go, it's not that you're tired. You're relaxed enough to allow it to
Yeah.
release.
Yeah. So this may be an uncomfortable question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It's not a hard question. Well, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not going to say that. Is there anything about how you approach and what you bring to the table that's unique compared to other people that may do energy work as well too? Like
I think
different,
we
your ability is more
all
unique.
have our own gifts and we're all unique and we don't all fit the same.
Yeah.
Like as a healer, I go to a healer, and when she does it on me, it's different from what I do. Right? But I
Yeah.
still get the same benefits, still like, right?
Yeah.
It's again
Yeah.
about intention and what you're communicating with the person. But
Yeah.
I think some people always say, well, when I'm teaching Reiki, they go, Deb, I don't see. I go, it's practice and being
Yeah.
allowing yourself to open up to your uniqueness. People
Yeah.
see and feel and different things.
Yeah.
We all have our own gifts. Some are the same and some are different. But that's just like if we all did the same, then we go to anybody. I think it's nice to have some uniqueness.
Do you find it depends on where their level of personal healing is at as well?
Yes. Yes, and how open they are.
And
Because sometimes,
not trying to be judgy. It's just
no, no,
it
no, no,
just
no.
is what it
It's
is.
their body tells me, right?
Yeah.
So somebody that's, I had a client that was just first diagnosed with cancer and had all the pain, anxiety, but was open, but I couldn't get to where I wanted to on the first time she came, right?
Yeah.
But then as she got more comfortable, I was able to go in on the cellular level, but not for till like the third or fourth visit.
Right. So I'm also talking about the practitioners, like somebody who's offering the
Oh,
work. Like if
yeah.
they're not
They're
on their
all
own
alert.
personal healing journey, they're
Mhm.
only going to go to a certain point.
Correct.
Mhm.
But it's just again being open to new
Yeah.
experiences, right? And
Yeah.
there's like I got this with working with my clients with tumors. All of a sudden, an elemental came in, and I'm like, okay, this is freaking me out. Like, what do I do with this? And I have no idea what this is. But it was a dragon, and it was about
Oh, that's
bringing
fabulous.
right. But I didn't know at the time, so I had to take a step back and go, okay, oh, am I going crazy? Am I seeing this? Do I believe this? Until I
But do
sat
you
with
have
it
to?
and talked to exactly.
If we're just being of service, we just have to get out of the way, right? So do you have to
Exactly.
believe if it's there, it's presenting because it's part of what needs to happen?
Yeah. And that's what I do when I attune to my client. I'm asking for myself to be removed, my ego to step aside
Yeah.
so I can become the clear channel because it's not me. It's who comes through me
Yeah.
that is the channel for the healing. I'm not a healer. Like, yeah, my hands are, but it's not, it's my body, but it's not me. It's
Coming through
who
you.
comes through me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And everybody brings their own team and spirit with them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everybody has their own a guardian angel. Everybody works has their loved ones that have crossed over. So every team is different.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes
for
a
my
space
team
can
in
get
spirit,
crowded.
oh God, yes,
Crowded.
yes. And I love it, right? I just love it. Because I'll be up at the head or down at the feet, and they'll get after the session go, how can you be at two places at once? I'm like, what are you talking about? well, when you were at my feet, I knew you were there, but I felt somebody up at my head. I go, because that's your team in spirit helping. That's your guides. That's the
Yeah.
sense anybody that comes in that's helping me, helping you.
Yeah. And it's such great awareness for them that they can tap in if they clear it. They can have those experiences with practice. And that's what it's a journey. It is a
It is.
practice.
Our whole life is a personal journey of transformation,
Yeah.
right? And we need to live life to our fullest.
And we're
That's
not,
what it's all about.
yeah. So do you find people have the misconception that you don't get knocked off kilter?
Ah. Oh, yeah. But yeah, like everybody has their good and bad days. There's some days I've had to call into a client and say, we need to reschedule because I wouldn't even take your money or do it for free because it wouldn't be, I'm off.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the more authentic and truthful and transparent we are, it is encouraging for other people to be the same, that it's okay that, we have these moments and it's not all, it's not easy. And that's what I tell people. When I see stuff that's all that love and lighty and it's just all yummy all the time, I'm like, they're not really doing the work, because it should be a little bit of snotty, ugly crying, a little bit of pukey stuff. There's, it's messy. It's
Yeah, it's just like someone
messy.
saying, oh, I'm okay, I'm perfect. And my life is hunky dory. I'm like, then you're in denial,
Yeah.
right? What are you missing? You're not acknowledging something.
That's a special Kool-Aid. Yes. And
then I've had an experience where, like, I've had people come, like, I can hear and see their loved ones, but I was with a client where their daughter had just passed away,
oh,
and because I work with kids with autism,
yeah.
sh- I became the first time, and I've been told by one of my mentors that I'm a trans channeler, but I haven't had time to investigate that, and it happened. And
Mhm.
all of a sudden I come out and she's in tears and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I'm so sorry. I don't remember.
Right?
I channeled my daughter, the whole everything. And I'm like, and I was like, I feel like I got slimed by Slimer from the Ghostbusters.
I know. So did you get so that's happened to me 3 times. I've been doing this 16 years. I'm just like you. I dig my heels in the sand and I'm being dragged into that because I have control issues and I have the health issues to to back that up. So it
It
is
knocked me out for 2 days.
yes, it does. And I don't know. Do you feel though again, that there is a collective that we're being pulled because it's necessary for us to go up to that level because there's something else coming up for the people underneath us?
Yes. So I know when a guy comes in and I get like I feel weird that
Yeah.
either I have to go up to the vibration or I have to ask them to come down to my level.
Yeah.
I think it all has to do with our body too, right? Depending on because I know
Dang meat suit.
our minds want it, but it's balancing the mind and the body
Yeah.
as well because it can throw us off. Like sometimes if I've really attuned to something and it's a higher energy, especially if it's somebody's spirit guide or ascended master that's come in, and then afterwards, like it's like I'm like, oh man, I got a headache, right?
So I know that I had someone in the Love and Light community tell me that I was not doing my job properly. I was not grounded or putting up those boundaries or protection properly for a spirit to step in that way where I was doing that trance channeling. Because it happened just like with you. It just, I'm talking, and then all of a sudden I remember coming into the consciously aware space and crying. And that's what happened. And I'm like, I'm super on top of all of that stuff. So I felt hurt and not supported and dismissed, though everybody in the room was having a major meltdown, like in a huge, excited way that had happened. So do you find it's hard to trust your divine team when they let you get into that I
I
mean,
don't
I
know if
mean,
it's
I don't know if it's
trusting my
not the right.
divine team. It's
Yeah,
trusting others with judgment and criticism. Like
yeah,
I wasn't expecting it. I'd never had it had really occurred. I knew of somebody telling me that I was because she was gifted also as a medium
yeah,
and was a trance channeler, but I'd never experienced. So if you haven't experienced it, how do you
none.
protect yourself from something that you're not aware of yet?
Oh, that makes sense too. I hadn't thought of it that way. Thank you. And it's
So
true
for
though.
someone to
So,
judge or criticize is not fair.
well, that's what I said. It's not very love and lighty. And then, so my response was, well, you can pray for me.
Yeah. And we're not perfect. Like, and we learn. It's
No.
a learning
Yes.
experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For sure. It's all a journey. It's a journey. It's all a journey. If you are just joining us here on Spirit Switchboard, we are with Deborah Hackett-Jones, who is a medical intuitive and end of life doula, and you are listening to us on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Network 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. So let's keep going on that conversation, because you had said something earlier too about the right side being male and left side being female, and there's all these different things that go through my mind when I was listening to you talking, vibration and spirit guides. And do you find like we can't go backwards once we have a certain level of awareness? Like we can't go backwards. And um, do you care less about identifying the who because you understand who the is based on their vibration? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. Because yes, I will get like when someone comes in, I get the frequency changes, right?
Right.
I feel
Yeah.
it through my body. Sometimes I get it, the ears popping or whatever. But I get it. It's different for me when it's somebody that's lived on this plane. And
Yes.
it's different vibrations for angels or people that have not been a part of the earth plane. So it's a different energy that I feel.
And is that energy unique to you and a language for you with them, and it would be different for each person and their journey?
I think so. I think it
Yeah.
is because it's how we interpret what it's coming like, right?
Right.
When I was on the other side, we were all the same. We were all just love and light and da da da. But
Yeah.
it's how people feel it in their bodies because everybody feels things differently.
And that would be the encouragement, right? To understand how things feel for you so you know what your intuitive language is and what your intuitive truth is.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's hard it's a hard journey.
It is because our ego fights with us all the time, saying, you should do it this way. It's written in the book. The person wrote that book. Well, then you read
Um,
another book and the person says something different. So that's just proof,
yeah,
right? Everybody's unique in their own way of,
yeah,
right? Look at channels. Not everybody channels the same. Some
no,
people do hand movements or eyes. Some do closed eye. Some do it open eye. Like, so, I mean,
yeah.
I think we're all unique on how we interpret, and we each have our own guides and people that come in, right?
And that don't care what we call them,
Exactly.
really.
Yeah. They just want to be heard and they want their messages to get to their loved ones
Yeah,
or to us to do what we're supposed to do.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I just got dizzy all of a sudden. I don't know what that was all about.
That
Someone's
was
standing
everybody.
right behind me. I just leaned into that. Oh, that's so funny. So, okay, then I'm like a little kid with a
I
thousand
know, I
questions
see you're
all the
all lights
time.
are flashing.
So
I
why
wish
do
I had.
some go ahead.
No, this is when I say to my clients, I wish I had one of those cameras and take before and after pictures so they could
Oh,
actually see what I see,
mm,
right? They come in and you're like, wow.
yeah.
There was one of my clients came because my studio come up the stairs and I'm like, oh my God, like I don't even want to scare her, but I can't see her. I just called her the gray lady in my head,
Oh,
right? We did a session and then she went and sat because we always sit afterwards. I'm like, oh my God, your hair's red. Like beautiful red. And she's like looking at me like, what the hell are you talking about? I go, okay, when you came in because of all of the sadness and the heaviness,
Right.
I couldn't even see you had this beautiful red hair and green eyes until we cleared all the energy and cleared
Mm.
all that cloud. And I'm like, wow, right?
Wow, eh? So why would some people stay sick and other people not?
I think it's about your soul and how you, what your journey is, what you signed up for, right? Like people always ask me, how come you survived and others don't? And it's like, I think it's all about trust, having faith, your will, and what we have. What I was told on the other side, we're always given choice.
So free
So
will.
yes, when I was over there, I had the choice to stay because it was like, wow, who wants to come back to that? And then to
No.
come back because one, the baby, and two, I knew what my purpose was, and that was to be in service of others and help them. And I chose to come back
Yeah.
because
But people can get really caught up with that whole phrase of being of service to others. And it doesn't necessarily have to be becoming an end of life doula or
being
an
of
intuitive.
service is a mother, being of service as a teacher, being of service as a nurse, a doctor. That's like whatever your purpose is, cleaning somebody's house. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be a healer.
Yeah. It's definitely and like sharing the gift of who you are. So if you are a problem solver or you know how to network, you know how to, whatever those gifts are, and then finding out more. And I tell people, if you are just the one that's always got a smile on your face and say
That's
hello to
bringing
people.
happiness to the world, right?
Yeah.
People want to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
People want to be seen. I'm always, even, okay, so I just come back and not that I'll go back again, Vegas, because I had to fly into Vegas to go
Oh
to
my God,
like
how brave are you?
to Yosemite and Zion and all that. Well, I walked down the street, mind you, it was bloody well hot too, that it was like in and out. But I was smiling and looking at people in their eye, and they were freaked out. Like they were looking at themselves, like, what have I got on me? And I'm like, I'm just saying hi. Because we've lost
Yeah.
that connection, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And society has put all these judgments, values, and limitations on us. And that's our problem. Like anybody can be anything they want to be. It's having your clarity and wanting to, don't let society hold you back. I'm not saying go rob a bank. I
No,
like what
no, no,
you're
no.
what you're meant to do, right?
Yeah. And again, it comes back to what are you contributing to that collective consciousness of one? Is it helping expand and lighten, or is it heavy and rippled? But then some people, maybe that's their role, and recognizing that we still have to have that duality in order to
We
feel the
do have
difference,
to
right?
have the duality. We have to have that scales, or how else are we supposed to learn?
Yeah.
There's reason why people come in short, live a short time, that get illness and don't survive, get in an accident and don't survive. That's how we learn about grief and loss and how to forgive and to love and know how valuable life is. If we didn't
Yeah.
have all these scenarios happening around us, like I said, the earth plane is like the movie. You sign up to come and do those things. Because on the other side, it's like you're free and da 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 with this energy, and then we come into these meat suits and go, oh man, what the heck? Do you think I want it? No, I would have liked to come back looking like, I don't know, some sexy cha-cha model.
At least 2 inches taller. I would have chose at least 2 inches taller. 2 would be great. Um, yeah. It's intention though. Like people forget our intentions matter with everything that we do. And I think too, remembering we can shift how we respond to those people that are creating the duality. And it took me a long time to get to that place and not harbor and sit with the, yucky emotions that would get triggered, and then go, okay, so thank you for giving me the opportunity to practice speaking my truth. Thank you for giving me the
Exactly.
opportunity to walk away.
Or thinking that, oh my God, that came from ego, not my heart. Oh wow,
Yeah.
am I ever sorry? It was my brain spoke before I was able to process what came out of my mouth, right? But
Yes.
that's a learning. That's a part of our the inner child triggers and our shadow work, right? Learning what those triggers are. So think of Shrek and they say about peeling the onion back, right? You think, okay,
Yeah.
I've been working on myself and da da da. All of a sudden, I thought I worked on that. Oh my God, abandonment issues? Because you've got to the core of what
Wow.
happened between the ages 0 and 5 or 0 and 7. We all suffer from some sort of trauma or PTSD. And it
Yeah.
could be a simple thing as mine was that my parents went next door to the neighbors. I woke up in the night, they weren't there. I thought they left. I was 5, 3 or 4. They
Wow.
so I fell asleep, and when I woke up, they were there. But I, in my whole little self, thought they had left me,
Wow.
and it caused abandonment. Something as simple as that.
Wow. So that is shadow work. I just wanted you to explain shadow work because
Yeah,
I think sometimes that's a buzzword that gets tossed around without a lot of understanding.
it's knowing what our triggers are, right? Shadow work is dealing with what triggers us and what causes all these things that set us off, or
A
you
trigger
have this
response?
sadness, yeah, or you have this like feeling lost, right? Not knowing who you truly are is working on ourselves to find out who we are from within,
Mm,
not somebody telling us or having to be validated by the outside world. It's
yeah.
loving ourselves enough to validate our own being, right? Like when
Yeah.
I was younger, I was always looking for outside someone to love me, and because of these abandonment issues, because I didn't know how to love myself.
Right.
When I went on the other side, it's like, holy smokes, man. We come back here, and the whole purpose is to find out to love ourselves.
Okay. What makes you laugh till you leak?
I do a lot of that because,
A
well,
lot of leaking
I
or a lot of laughing?
laughing. I love to laugh. I laugh at myself for any kind of mistakes I do, anything that,
Yes.
it's you gotta laugh it off sometimes, right?
So do you love yourself more since you learned how to laugh at yourself?
Oh God, yes. Like especially being in a classroom, some of the stuff I've done, like tripped over cords, or, you pull down. I'm old school. I pull down the screen and all of a sudden let go. Everyone's like, "Ah!" And I'm like, it didn't come off the wall.
And there's stuff to laugh at every day.
Oh yes, yes, yes. I laugh. Yeah, there's lots of funny stuff. Like even you and I, when we first
Yeah.
had our thing, and we were both squirrel, right? It's like,
Because it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm with soul family. I couldn't, if you were here, I would have hugged you with my leg wrapped around you. It was like a long lost relative I have reconnected with.
and the joy and the release of it, right? Even when you do something
Yeah.
stupid, like even like it's like, oh my God, I didn't mean that to happen, but it did. Oh, I'm sorry. Then we laugh about it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah. And I think having that
Okay, here's
ha
one
ha
that was
ha.
really traumatizing for me at first. So when I had cancer, all my hair was gone. And
Right.
I got a wig, and it was so hot, like really hot. And they gave me this fake breast to put in my bra. Okay. And I went to school, and it got so hot that I like, they left for recess. I took my hair off, and I'm like, oh, this feels so good. Recess bell went, forgot, didn't put it back on. They all came and going, right? You had to laugh, right? And I'm writing on the chalkboard another date, and didn't the silicone slip to my belly? So I had my fake breast in my belly. And I'm like, okay, luckily I had a sweater on, and I kind of went like this and excused myself to the bathroom. I walk out, and I went to the principal's office, and I'm going, so what do you think? And they're like, oh my God. kids saw it, so it's not devastating. But
That's like from the movie Total Recall.
yeah, right.
You
And then
just saw the Total Recall. Yeah.
and then we were out at, I think it was my daughter's ringette tournament, and people were asking me, so how you feeling? Blah, blah, blah. What is
Mm.
that? So I took it out. Next thing you know, like people were putting it on their head. It's like, come on, you just gotta laugh, right? I'm here,
Yeah.
I'm alive. It was a prosthetic at the time, and now I'm reconstructed and things are great. But you got to just laugh at life. It's
Yeah.
life is for here to enjoy. I mean, I could have been devastated, but it was, I'm like, okay, now what?
My
What do you
friend,
do?
when she had her tumor, she gave it a name and she talked to it every day. And she said, like, I understand the lesson that you're bringing in now. You can F off with love and thank you very much.
And
She
that's
was
what I
like,
tell my clients.
yeah,
Acknowledge it, but let's set fire to it. Let's do video games like your kids and phew, 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 phew. Let's dissolve it. However, you can visualize it leaving the body.
right. So if you empty that, like if you're emptying that cup of the whatever was built up, right? That plaque of ick, do you have to fill the cup back up with positive so more
Yes.
negative doesn't
So
slip in quickly?
yeah, whenever I'm working on a client and I'm letting go or cutting cords or an attachment, when I use Archangel Michael to do that and the team in spirit, I bring in Saint Germain, who is the violet rays of love and light.
Mm.
You don't want to leave holes in your aura. So whenever you're releasing, and anybody can do this, fill it with gratitude. Fill it with the joy of whatever your brings your favorite memory is, like watching a baby laugh or holding your dog. What brings you that love, and put that love and fill it,
Right.
because you don't want to leave it empty because then it just fills up with more gunk.
Or those energy vampires see an opportunity to slip in and create
Yes,
more havoc, right?
exactly. Yeah.
And not always consciously.
No.
They don't do it consciously. Some of it's
No.
just habit.
Yeah.
How do you
Look at how many
find
negative people there are in the world, right?
mm,
And what I do is I play with the energy. I use that magic, and sometimes it's like a kid. I feel like a kid in a candy store. I walk into a room and like, oh, grumpy people in here. Let's see if I can. Let's just. I start breathing and I open my aura and spread it and spread
yes.
it and spread it, and all of a sudden, you can feel the lift. But people don't know. But they all of a sudden it's like, so you know what? I was having a bad day, but I feel kind of good today.
Do you
But
find
yeah.
people leave the room? Because I find people
Yes,
also
I
get
found people will
uncomfortable
get
and
up. Yep.
leave.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Hmm.
I try to send that love and light to who that person, like that relationship is, how they're represented to me instead of directly at them if you know that they can't accept it. So kind of
Hmm.
like healing through the back door, right?
Yep.
Coworkers, whatever,
Hmm.
healing through the back door. Sounds bad, but you know what I
You
mean.
know, sometimes people need it because they don't
Yeah.
understand that they need it, right?
Yeah. So what have your lessons been with finding balance? Like
Oh, hard. I really listen now, and
ongoing?
yeah, it's always ongoing. When I'm off balance, I feel it now. Before, I would ignore it because I was like, okay, I have to do this, I have to do this, and I feel guilty if I don't. For me, it was learning to relax.
Mm.
And when I sit now, that's when I go and I scan my body, and it's telling me whether I'm balanced or not, or where in my body I'm not balanced and where am I feeling it. And then I ask myself, is this mine that I can let go, or is it from my part, like my husband or my kids or
Right.
my coworkers? Did I take it on?
So how would you teach discernment for somebody who's just starting to understand energy, if they're just tapping into theirs or somebody in spirit, people around them? How would you encourage
I
them to
teach that
understand discernment?
with my clients when I've cleared them of all their stuff, and they say, so how do you feel now? Right? Now you're balanced. Now you're aligned. All your chakras are spinning the right way. You know how you feel now. So when something comes or it gets triggered or whatever, feel it. Scan your body. Where do you feel it? Ask yourself, is this mine? If it is, acknowledge it and let it go. If it's not, you'll know, oh my God, this doesn't belong to me. But it's a
Yeah.
learning. It's learning in progress, right? Once
Yeah.
you're more tuned and aware, it took me a long time, right?
Yeah. And that's how you can measure your growth too, is if you see, you've been sitting in that muck and then you put tools into place and that time period getting shorter and shorter to be gentle
I
with
have,
yourself, right?
I know if I'm not in the right thing and if I'm not aware, my husband will make me aware. He's like, wow, what happened? You're grumpy. It's like, what? I am? Ooh. Then I just sit like, okay, is this me or did I bring it home? Oh crap, I brought that home. Wow, I usually leave it at the door and I got so wrapped up in stuff that I brought it home with me.
Right.
So sometimes you need other people to bring to your awareness as well, right?
Yes. And hopefully in a gentle way.
Yes.
Not saying, hey, your energy feels like hot dog water. You need to leave the room maybe for a minute and get that in check.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
But
because
you also have to give yourself permission to have those days, right? We don't allow, like I never gave myself permission. I was always like, I have to be on. I have to be,
yeah.
it's like that's exhausting. Once I
Mhm.
let it go and gave myself permission, it's like, oh, that works so much better.
Yeah, that's a hard one. I have a hard time with that one as well too, right? I have a very hard time with that one. It's when
And
people
remember,
recognize
it's
me.
one step at a time, and that you're
Yeah.
allowed to take a couple steps back. As long as you don't keep spiraling downwards, you keep moving forward, right?
Yeah. So do you find I mean, you would have a double whammy being a TA and known within the education system and then doing this work as well too, that having to have that attitude of giving yourself permission to just be when you're out in public, because then they're seeing you out of context if they run into you at the grocery store, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
How do those
But I
experiences go?
mean, they're always good, right? I'll be walking and I'll hear, oh my God, Mrs. Day, and they run and give me a hug, right? I mean, I used to run, this is even another funny one. I used to run the summer camps, and in summer
Yeah.
camps, you give each other nicknames, right? So I was in a grocery store, and one of the kids recognized me. Hey, Bubbles, how's it going? And this guy turned around to me and goes, what are you, a stripper?
And what would be wrong with that?
And I'm like, no, but I probably make more money. He said, no, it's my personality, bubbly, bonehead.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
How
so,
people interpret things, right?
and they're bringing their generational traumas, their, generational experiences, their own experiences, past life experiences, all that kind of stuff. I don't get too caught up with past life stuff because I just assume all of it has happened. Good, bad, male, female. I don't know.
When you're on the other side, there is no time,
Yeah.
right? There is
Yeah.
no, we created time on the earth. Like, there is no, we're all everywhere. It's
Yeah.
hard to explain. That's another topic.
It is another topic. My daughter gets frustrated with me because I say everything's divine timing now. We gotta go. We gotta rush. We gotta rush. It's divine timing. We'll get there when we get there. Because if I rush, I'll feel icky.
It is
Can't.
divine timing. Look at how long it took me to finally feel comfortable in my own self to say, okay, I can, and it's not about the money. Like
No.
it's like money drives our society, and to me,
Yeah.
it's never to me been about money.
So, and if you do make it about the money, spirit shuts you down. Like you get a good lesson if you think that being of spirit and doing this work and being of service is just going to be about fame and getting your name out, making money. You get shut down pretty quick.
Yeah, and I'm not like I say, I don't do a lot of promoting. This is new for me. I'm word of mouth.
Yeah,
Like one
that's the
person
same as
tells
for
another
me.
person, and another person tells another person. Like I don't like. Yeah, I'm just not that type of person. I don't need to be in the spotlight. Like I just, when people need me, they'll know and they show up.
But it grows, and it grows quickly from that word of mouth. If you are showing up authentically with integrity
Yeah.
and being of service,
And being
in
true
the
to yourself, right?
yes, yes, and true to yourself. I think there's a level of transparency with our own personal journeys, so people can
Mhm.
relate to it, and they feel safe to be vulnerable around us, and that's
And you're
huge
gonna
too.
have people that don't like you that think, oh, yeah, you are, right? But who knows? It's that they're the way they do stuff, right? The way they feel, the what they, it's again their judgments, and I can't, I don't, I try not to take those on because then I won't like, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Like that's how we're
Yeah.
taught.
Wow. Yeah, I don't have energy for that.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, that's
So
okay.
before, yeah,
I
but that's again learning.
and are we, if we are trying to people please, then we're not being authentic or truthful, right? So it just creates a
Exactly.
whole other layer of something
Mhm.
that needs to shuffle around, right?
Yeah.
So how would you encourage people to keep a sense of wonder? Keep a sense of wonder with spirit, keep a sense of open-mindedness. How would you encourage people to?
I just allow, and I'm like a kid, right? I love the magic, and I'm logical. So asking for a sign, right? So I always test it. So for me, like when I was asking about retirement, you haven't been in my studio, but I have a coffee maker on the table, and I went over and I put my cup in the coffee maker, and I went around to get tea, and when I came back, there was a dime, right? And I'm like, okay, how does a dime get? So, because I'd asked my dad, give me a sign. Like, please, am I doing the right thing before I go and tell them I'm
Right.
going to retire? And so jokingly, I said, Dad, you could have left me at 50.
Yeah, yeah.
So when I retired, well, don't I get a $50 gift certificate, $50? It was just, yeah, in $50 increments. I go, okay, Dad, I'm listening now, right? Or
That's
one time,
awesome.
yeah. So because my logical brain, when I don't understand something, I want proof. So I play with it. There was one day we were on a
Yeah.
long trip and I was asking something and I said, like, show me a feather, whether it's in the cloud or wherever. We're in a car. I don't know how I'm going to see a feather on a sign. All of a sudden, my husband slams on the brakes, cursing this truck driver that we almost ran into. We pass him. What's on the side of the truck?
It was painted on the side of the truck, the big feather. That's awesome.
So it's just
So,
watching for the signs,
do
right? And being
clients
aware.
ask you about signs though? Because people get caught up with, I found this and I don't understand the message and I'm doing something wrong. And then they get all swirly about the message.
Yeah, I
What do you
said you
say
have
to
to
that?
sit. I say sometimes you have to sit with it. There's sometimes I get messages. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then within the week, I have my answer, right?
Yeah.
It may not be that day
Yeah.
because sometimes it comes in metaphor or number or, okay, yeah, that cardinal's out there giving me what for, but why?
Yeah.
Well, then all of a sudden it's like, Mom, you weren't listening to me when I asked you, and now I'm going to ask you again. It's like, oh, the cardinal was telling me I wasn't listening. I was too much and not listening to what was going on. So it's all
Right.
metaphors, numbers, signs. It's what your belief is and what your intentions are as well, right?
Belief and intention for sure are huge. And I think too, with signs, people stay so focused that they don't surrender into the moment because it's always in a non-thinking moment. The signs are going to,
Exactly. That's why you have to kind of be aware, right? Like when I was out in Yosemite, um, the waterfall. Like I sat by the waterfall and I thought I heard, like I just had these senses, these feelings, and didn't know what it was all about until we left Yosemite and I had time to sit and process and I was actually journaling. And it was about flow, letting it go, and how we can wash away. and actually standing in the shower and imagining the water clearing all the stuff out as well.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely. Do you have tips that you could share for our listeners on how to tap into their body, how to sit and do a scan, even though they, have not maybe started that journey, but want to start that journey of tapping in and being more present within their body?
The first thing I can say is get yourself grounded. Ground yourself so you can actually and be open-minded, and it's curiosity as well,
Yeah.
testing it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, start with one area. Don't try and do the whole thing all at once. Learn first. Like, start with the root chakra and feel grounded. What does it feel like not to be grounded? What does it feel like to be grounded? And
And
then
explain again what the
working.
root chakra is, just in case there's somebody
Okay,
that's
the
not
root
in that
chakra is
place.
the base chakra, right? It's at your between your legs,
Your bits
for
and
lack of,
bobs.
yeah,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's connected to everything, but it's keeping you weighted. It's like gravity. If you took gravity away, you'd float away. So that groundedness, that connection, the stillness, right? And once you get the stillness, it's quieting the monkey brain, to actually get into knowing and practicing, picking up a book and reading it to get advice, asking people, right? That's how I started learning. I opened a book on, oh, this is really interesting. It doesn't, and then what resonated with me was then talking to people and finding out and working with it.
Did you find once you agreed to step into that, the right teachers and the people fell into place for you? Like that you didn't actually have to go seek for them?
Yes, and being asking. So your higher self, if you sit, and to me, it's always where the mind goes, the energy flows. So I always put my hand on my heart and I ask for my higher self to come in. You can use a visual. Sometimes, if I'm doing stuff for clients, I light a candle and I ask my higher self, because it's the flame, it's the fire, it's the light, right? In my
Gotcha.
studio, I light where we sit and call in their team spirit. When they're over on the table, I have candles lit, because it's like moth to a flame, bringing in the light, right?
Right. And
Letting them know we're acknowledging them.
it's all senses.
Yes.
See, hear, feel, smell, taste. Do you get taste too when you're working?
Oh, yeah. Metal sometimes. I love when, sometimes I don't love some of the perfumes back when grandmothers were around are like really
The
strong.
Avon samples?
The, my eyes will start watering, but yeah, I know what kind of perfume your grandma's.
That's amazing, eh? I
Yeah.
like sometimes when the older guys come in, like it's soap and cologne and
Oh, but I
leather
love
and
the
almost like a
smell of a
sweet
pipe.
sweat at the
Yeah.
same time.
I love the smell of a pipe. Like just that,
Yeah.
how they used to smoke the pipe, right? And put that tobacco in.
Cherry tobacco. The cherry tobacco. So again, if we are talking about smells, sight smells, all of those things, and people opening up and getting onto a love and lighter path, people look at it as a gift, that this is a gift, right? It's a gift. Um, so they just allow it all to happen. So they allow all of it to happen. But that can be overwhelming. Like, do you,
That's
do
why I say
you,
start with something,
yeah.
right? And get yourself attuned to it and play with it, right? Like I saw black and white, like it was like black and white. There was no color when I was younger. I just knew you were dark, and I didn't want to, like, I could hide behind and go, there's
Right.
something. But to me, as a kid, and you don't know, I thought, oh, you're like, are you going to hurt me? And then there was other people that walked in that were light, and I was like, oh, I wanted to be around them, until later on I developed the colors.
But we also still have control and autonomy. Like we can say to our spirit guides, this is uncomfortable. Can this be shown in a different way?
Yes. It's just like asking when I have a new guide come in and I'm like, I have no idea what they're saying. It's like this high pierced or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm not at your level yet. Can you please help me calm myself
Right.
and bring me up? Or can you do me a favor and bring yourself down till I get adjusted and used to it
Yeah.
and get to know you? And when I get to know you, then I find out the name. So to me, it's the feeling first. Like
Yeah.
it's the vibrational frequency that I have to attune to.
And again, it comes back to feeling okay to ask and having that communication and saying this isn't working, or not shutting down.
Well, and that's another thing. When I was a kid, I'd have inundated at night. And finally, I asked, because I got so scared, I said, please stop. I'm scared. And all of a sudden,
Yeah.
and then I got to ask. Then I started asking, you're welcome. Please come in gently, not all at once. I can't, my brain, I just can't handle it. So it's asking, it's like training them as well.
Oh, for sure. It's learning how to dance. It is learning how to dance with spirit and what feels comfortable for you and what doesn't. And then when you have that flow, there's really not one person that's guiding. You're in that movement together, and it's lovely.
When I'm working on a client, I have my team in spirit, my higher self. I have their team in spirit, their higher self, their loved ones. I have, if it's a cancer patient, I call in doctors, angels, whoever needs to work on the healing.
Right.
Not only I call in the archangels of the horizontal and vertical plane, like I call them all in, right?
Yeah, that's fabulous. Do you have anything coming up, workshops, or how can people reach you if they're interested in connecting with you further?
Yeah, they can reach me through the email that you have there, debkolbeck@yahoo.ca. I also have Facebook, which is DH Energy Healing Consultant on Facebook. Also, Deb Hackett-Jones on Facebook. And then I also have my phone number that I text. Now, I'll let you know, I'm not the techie person, unfortunately. So, but I do get back to you. I'm just actually planning. One of my clients is a yoga instructor, and I'm meeting with him next week. He's been teaching Thursday night yoga in my studio. So now we're getting together to collaborate, working with the chakras and matching it with the yoga poses. So you'll learn about the chakras and how they affect. So each week we'll do a separate chakra and learn poses on how to release them, as
Oh,
long as
lovely.
affirmations, what they stand for, how they affect. It's a big, so yes, this is all stuff that's going to, people are on holidays and don't want to spend time inside in the summer. I get that. So I like to teach during the fall, the winter, right? When you're like, yeah, I'm not going outside in that. Let's find something to do.
I'm the other way. Heat and sweat? No. I'll sign up for a class in the summer. I don't want to sweat. No. This has been such a pleasure. I would love to have you back on, because there's so much that we didn't even tap into today.
I know.
Like, so much. But I appreciate you coming on, and it really does feel like I'm hanging out with a soul sister every time we connect.
Too. That's why I was at first, it's the technical part that I was fearful about, not speaking to you and the audience. I wish I could see you guys, sending out lots of love and healing energies to you all. And thank you for joining. I know some of my friends are here, so thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
I don't want to single you out, but we know who you are.
Yes, Miss Heather.
Yes.
She is one of your biggest cheerleaders, for sure.
Well, I'm one of hers as well. So, yes.
Thanks for watching, Michelle. So thank you, everybody, that was in the chat and for your comments and questions. A big shout out to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Radio Paranormal Network for hosting. Thanks for tuning in to Spirit Switchboard, and we will be back next week.
Bye, guys. I'm off to go.
It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. the news on the flip side, in the category of politics and news. News on the flip side is a much different news and political program which is not deemed as opinion news. Listen as Joe Montaldo brings to you just the facts from trusted sources which will allow you, the people, to make up your own minds on the various stories being reported on. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate News on the Flip Side in the category of politics and news. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and do it now.
It's time for you to get out and nominate your favorite podcasts. There's an amazing show I want you to consider for the People's Choice Podcast Awards. Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast, in 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. For 4 years, the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast has provided advice and tips from international best-selling authors, world-class artists, contest judges and winners, and industry professionals based on the world-famous Writers of the Future contest created in 1983 by L. Ron Hubbard to help the aspiring writer and artist no matter their age. It is dedicated to the future of storytelling and art by showing that it is never too late to start, and those who make it are those who never give up. Go to podcastawards.com to nominate the Writers and Illustrators of the Future podcast in any or all of the 3 categories: education, storyteller drama, and art. That's podcastawards.com, and please take a moment and go out and vote now.
Looking for something new in sci-fi or fantasy? Check out what Brandon Sanderson, Orson Scott Card, Nnedi Okorafor, and others chose as the best news stories of the year in the L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future Anthology. From 24 award-winning authors and illustrators, plus art and writing tips and bonus stories. L. Ron Hubbard Presents Writers of the Future. Buy your copy at galaxypress.com, Amazon, or wherever books are sold.
You are listening to UPRN, United Public Radio Network, coming to you live on 105.3 right up to 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. UPRNtalkradio.com.
You've been listening to Spirit Switchboard with host Kerrilynn on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 New Orleans.